Okay, the first mistake that you need to worry about not making on your road test, and this applies to almost any area where you might take your road test, is failing to yield the right of way to a vehicle that might be coming up behind you. The reason why people make this mistake is because of poor observation. Most people only check their mirrors and look over their shoulder one time. You should be checking over your shoulder and checking your mirrors several times as you're pulling out of a parking spot. When you only check one time, you leave yourself open to not seeing a vehicle that might be coming up the road as soon as you turn your head, or as soon as you turn your head away from your blind spot, or as soon as you turn your eyes away from your mirrors. As soon as that happens, it's possible that somebody could be coming up the road. And if you pull out and you're unaware that somebody's coming up the street behind you, and when you pull out, the examiner feels as if that vehicle was too close to you, then you could fail your road test before you even really start your road test. All right, so any road test you're at, any road test area you're at, make sure you look over your shoulder several times as you're pulling out in order to avoid that critical mistake. Okay, another mistake that people make when they're pulling out of a parking spot is, especially at the beginning of the road test, is they have the wheel turned maybe too much to the left, and they give the vehicle too much gas. And what happens there is the vehicle shoots out of the parking spot, crosses the first lane, and enters the second lane. If that happens at the beginning of your test, basically you just lost control of the vehicle, and at that point the examiner can fail you. When you pull out of a parking spot, you must have good control over the vehicle, and you should be getting into the first lane unless the examiner tells you specifically to get into the furthest lane. If they do not tell you that and you go directly over to the second lane, the examiner can fail you for losing control of the vehicle or improper action. All right, so be careful when you're pulling out of a parking spot. Make sure you pull out, you check for traffic, make sure look over your shoulders and check your mirrors several times, and make sure you pull out into the closest lane of traffic to you. All right. One other tricky thing about Seaview is it's always stop signs. Unlike other areas, Seaview, you have a little bit more always stop signs than other areas. And an always stop sign is pretty easy, but what's tricky about it is that most people don't get to experience a lot of always stop signs in the course of their practice. So what happens there is that when people come across an always stop sign, they don't recognize it as an always stop sign, and they treat it as a regular stop sign. All right, the difference between an always stop sign and a regular stop sign is that when you come to an always stop sign, that means everybody else that is coming to that intersection also has a stop sign. That's what it means. Always stop sign means everybody must stop at this intersection. All right, when it's a regular stop sign, that means only you have a stop sign, and that when you come from that stop sign, you have to move up and look for traffic and yield to traffic that will be on the cross street, on the opposite, on the cross traffic. All right, at an always stop sign, everybody has to stop. So at an always stop sign, nobody has the direct right of way over another vehicle that's coming from a different direction. The way you determine who has the right of way and who goes first is who gets to their stop sign first. So at an always stop sign, it's whoever gets to their stop sign first has the right of way to go first. So you go in the order that you come to your stop sign. All right. Once you make your full stop at an all-way stop sign, you do not have to make another stop. All right. If you were the first person there. All right. So at a regular stop sign, after you make your first full stop, you have to move up and stop again. That's what everybody is taught to do. You make at least 2 stops at a regular stop sign, but at an all-way stop sign, you only have to make 1. All right. So the mistake that people make a lot of times is that when they come to an all-way stop sign and they don't recognize it as an all-way stop sign, and it usually says right underneath, all way. All right, 95% of the time it says all way right underneath it. But most people are not used to looking for that. They just see a red stop sign and they don't look at anything else. So right underneath a stop sign, if it says all way, the words all way, you have to look for it. If it says that, then you know you're at an all-way stop sign. All right, so the problem is most people don't recognize it as an all-way stop sign, and they haven't had a lot of practice with all-way stop signs. So what happens there is they get to the all-way stop sign, they make their first full stop in the correct place, and then they move up, and then they stop again to look for traffic. That's a mistake. All right, and once you do that, the examiner will, they can potentially fail you for holding up traffic. All right, so even if there aren't any vehicles behind you, they can still fail you for impeding the flow of traffic. Why? Because you're not supposed to make a second stop. You're supposed to make 1 stop and then you proceed. All right. So make sure you, in preparation for the road test and for taking your road test in Seaview, that you get a lot of practice on all-way stop signs.